doing this because we are the exception. Like, how many people are bar owners
Right.
in the world? Like a fraction of 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 a percent. By definition, you're already an exception. And if you're going to be exceptional, that means you are the exception. You're not like others. So why keep comparing yourselves to others if you are the exception? Be the exception. Embrace it.
It's so simple, but
Sounds simple. So
it's
simple.
right? So simple on the surface, so deep in reality, so hard to actually understand. Hello, and welcome to the Bar Business Podcast, where we help bar owners increase profits, attract loyal guests, and simplify operations so you can avoid burnout and finally enjoy your life outside of your bar. I'm your host, Chris Schneider, the Bar Business Coach. Today on the Bar Business Podcast, we have a very interesting guest. His name is Mike DeJong. He is a franchise turnaround expert and a mindset strategist. And we're going to dig in a lot about mindset, talk about how sometimes as an owner, you're the bottleneck in your own business, and dig into Mike's background. And one thing that's really cool about Mike, he's worked not with bars, but around food service quite a bit. That's who he helps coach in a lot of the time. And he has 30 years of experience across multiple industries that has given him the knowledge to help people. One thing that I find particularly interesting too in his background, he has a little bit of an engineering background. So he likes his systems, but he also understands that people come first above systems most of the time. So with that, Mike, one other thing, Mike's also the author of the book Grow Smart. So look up his book too. We'll get more into that as we go through. But Mike, thank you so much for being here. Hopefully I didn't botch that introduction too poorly.
Chris, that was great. Thank you for the warm intro. I really appreciate it.
Well, like I said, thanks for being here. And what I really want to get into with you, because there's so many different directions we can go.
Yes.
But you are all about mindset. To me, everything I build from, mindset is kind of the foundation of everything I coach on as well.
Yes.
And we had this conversation earlier, but unless you have the right mindset, it's really hard to get anything done.
So hard.
Why does mindset matter so much to you? And where do you think people are going wrong?
I'm going to start that with a quote from a mentor of mine, Jay Morrison. He's a recently retired U.S. Navy SEAL, Master Chief. And he says, everyone says they want something, but they want nothing more. And where I go with that is this leads into the mindset piece. Everyone says, in your audience case, I'm going to start a bar. I'm going to have the most amazing bar. It's going to do all these things. And they do most of it, but they won't do the things that they don't want to do, or the things that maybe we all know we should do. Like, we all know we should, taking the bar and the food service, we all know we should eat right, and we should exercise, and we should have more vegetables. And that's all. It's literally comes down to mindset, whether we're going to do it or not. So it's easier to go eat the pre-processed food, to go grab the candy bar. That's the you want nothing more piece of, we say we want something. I want a 6-pack abs, but I want the candy bar more. I want the most successful bar in the world, but I really want to just sit around in the morning and watch YouTube videos. Like, it's just whatever it is, you got to have the mindset around wanting it.
And so along those lines, I know when we talked before, one of the things that you had mentioned is that the owner is kind of frequently, for a lot of businesses, the bottleneck.
Yes.
And it goes to what you just said, right? Because, and I'm just as guilty of this as anybody, right? This morning, I was sitting there, I'm looking at YouTube videos. I go, I should really probably do some marketing, but
Yes.
this video is pretty funny. So
I said that because it happens to me too, every day, almost.
I mean, we could get into how social media has made that a thing, and
Right.
but that's beyond the scope of what we're talking about. But how do we get past that, right? Because if we all do it, then it's clearly not you're a bad person, you have this problem. It's a universal thing. But if everyone's doing it, how does anybody get past it?
Yeah. I think if anyone had the definitive answer on that, they would rule the world. However, there are some steps I think that we could all take from. It starts with, and this is not an original thought, but we got to start here. It starts with your why. There's been books written about it. There's a million different reasons what the why is and why that's so important. So I don't think we need to dive too deep into that. But if you have that important why, you have that pull that pulls you along instead of getting pushed along. Think of pulling a rope versus getting pushing a rope. It goes a lot easier. So you have a good why, and then it's getting out of your own way. We all talk about, everyone in the world talks about state's important, mindset's important, but we're rarely given tools on how to change that. People might suggest, okay, we'll get up and have a little dance party. Okay, that makes you feel good for a few minutes, put some endorphins in the brain. or listen to an uplifting podcast or meditate and these things all work. But how does it work in the moment? In the moment when you decide what you're going to be working on and what you're going to be doing. And kind of been working on a tool. It's not quite ready for prime time, but maybe we could introduce it a little bit here with your listeners and just kind of some steps on people that can take to get that right mindset and that right state.
Absolutely.
And it starts with us realizing when we were born, we were all born in a state of joy. That's our definitive. You look at a baby, unless they're hungry or need to be changed, they're pretty freaking happy.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And then something happens in life, traumas, whether we didn't get the bottle fast enough as a baby or we didn't get the smile from our parent, even though we did that cute thing that we always did as a baby, or other ones as we grow older. And that shapes how we see the world and how we interact with it. So then we have to think about, all right, in the world, there's facts and there's stories. Facts are what happened, and the stories are how we interact with those facts to help us understand how we fit in the world and how we fit into this circumstance. Past upbringing says, well, our brain loves shortcuts, right?
Mhm.
Because it takes up 20, 30% of our calories every day. So it loves a shortcut. What is the fastest way to decide what I should do here? I know the story. Here it is. And we rewire these loops constantly. An example of that is you get cut off in traffic. What do you do when you get cut off in traffic, Chris? What do most people do?
Well, normally I swear at the guy who cut me off.
Right. Exactly. Me too. It used to be, because the idea in our head, the story we're telling ourselves is probably like, why is that guy so much more important to me? How come he's faster? Like, what right does he have to put myself and my family in danger, et cetera, et cetera. So what if we in the moment trained ourselves to think of a better story, to look at the facts as the facts and then make up a better story? In that example, I've started doing this, and I actually sometimes tear up when I do it. So pardon me if I do. Now, when I get cut off, it didn't happen overnight. This happens over time. You have to do the reps, you have to do the reps. Like, oh my God, man, I hope you make it to the hospital in time to say goodbye to your mother. That completely changes how I feel about that situation.
Absolutely.
And it's true for just about anything we do. And that's a pretty extreme example, I'll admit. So you understand that you can take control of the story, that you're in a story, whatever that story is. Like, I could do the other thing later because I have time to watch YouTube videos because I'm going to learn all this interesting stuff that's going to help my business. That's your story. That's my story most days. I'm learning about new things. Or I can make a new story and say, I don't have time for this. I need to work on these two things today and get them done.
So let me ask this, because I think this is huge, this facts versus stories things, or that we build stories to justify facts.
Yes.
I know a lot of times, and I don't think this is by any means just a bar owner thing, but especially when you're working at, 3 a.m. and you got a bunch of drunk people around, you can come up with all sorts of stories.
Oh, yes.
That are loosely based on facts on a good day. If facts are the foundations of the stories, and we're talking about retraining the way that you view a story, how do you make sure that you're actually relying on facts? Because I feel like some of the time we make up stories and then the story we make up changes what we think the facts were.
Yeah, the whole he said, she said, and then there's the truth. Yeah. That's where it really does take practice. It's asking yourself other questions like, is what I just thought or said true? Is it 100% true? It might be some truth in it. Most stories have some truth. Is it 100% true? And you got to be honest with yourself. Oh, that's where it gets tricky, right? Because you're in this story pattern. Like, it's more comfortable to be in your repeated story. And if it is true, how does it make you feel? It's like, wow, I feel pretty crappy having this 100% true or not 100% true fact. And then how does it make you feel if you change it? Again, it doesn't, our brains are wired for survival. So if you get a baseball chucked at your head, you're going to duck a fraction of a second before you realize there's probably a safety net in front of you at a Major League Baseball park to save you from that baseball. So even though intellectually, you're safe, we're programmed to duck. It's that moment from ducking to fully committing to the duck. Like, I started to go down versus I threw myself on the ground, where you could make the change. And it's practice and practice and practice and practice. I'm not there yet, Chris. I've been doing this for a few years. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not there yet. But if you pick one or two stories that just aren't serving you well, they aren't. We all know what our bad wiring is, so to speak, and the meanings we give to it. For me, I hope my mother doesn't watch this. For me, it was like, oh, my mother did fill in the blank things, and I couldn't become who I was destined to be because of my mother. I wasn't allowed to go here. I wasn't allowed to do this. I wasn't allowed to. And then over the past few years, I changed the story. It's like my mother did the best she could with the resources she had. And I have a completely different relationship with my mother now, where it used to be, oh my God, I got to call my mom or I got to see my mom. I know it sounds terrible. I'm a horrible son, but it was my problem, not hers, but I was putting it on her.
Well, and I wonder, and this is far beyond probably what I should be wondering at this point, but I wonder too if some of that's not where we become a society where society helps build these stories.
Like 100%.
Right. And particularly of something like childhood trauma. We've built all these narratives around it that give you, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but they kind of give you the ability to hide behind some, to your point.
Yeah.
And when you just ignore that narrative that society is putting at you, it seems like that in some ways is what's required to get in the right position to be able to be an outlier.
So well said, Chris. My shortcut for that is I'm telling myself it's hard. It's hard. Oh, I'm going to the gym and oh, this workout's so hard, or I have to write another chapter in another book I'm writing. It's so hard. Fall into that hard mentality. And then I don't want to do it because it's hard because, we don't want to expend energy. And then my shortcut is, am I being shot at right now? No. Well, probably not that hard then. I guess this is actually pretty easy. I'm sitting at a keyboard typing. I'm in an air-conditioned gym doing reps. I change my reference from what's hard. Now, maybe being shot at doesn't work for everybody. It works for me. I've never been shot at, but to me, that sounds really hard. That sounds like something I never, ever want to experience. So anything less than that is not really all that hard.
Yeah, it's so simple, but it makes so much sense.
Just change the frame, reframe it.
Yeah, and it's like and just to tell a really quick story, but my dad was an orthopedic surgeon. And he had cancer and he died and it was all bad. But when he was going to the hospital as he was getting sicker, the doctors would always ask him, how much pain are you in? And he'd say, well, like 4 out of 10. And they'd look at him and they'd be like, but wait, you should be like way higher than that on the pain scale. And his response was, well, 10 out of 10 is probably like being skinned while you're being boiled alive while people are shooting needles into all your joints and it doesn't hurt that bad. And so to your point, right? And that's a really extreme example of pain there, but everything becomes a little bit just frame of reference.
Yeah. Compared to what?
Yeah.
Compared to what? That's the question. I go compared to getting shot at, but you can come up with your own, Chris, or your dad came up with his.
Yeah.
It was extreme, but it worked for him. I hope he had enough comfort in his final time. But every individual, it's like compared to what? We all have different frames of reference, and some of us have gone through some really hard stuff. I don't want to minimize what people have gone through. Getting shot is not the only hard, but think about what you're working on now and then compared to what. And then you said something a minute ago. It made me really excited. We're doing this because we are the exception. Like how many people are bar owners in the world? Like a fraction of 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 a percent, right? So by definition, you're already an exception. And if you're going to be exceptional, that means you are the exception. You're not like others. So why keep comparing yourselves to others if you are the exception? Be the exception. Embrace it.
It sounds so simple, but
it sounds simple. So simple.
Right? So simple on the surface, so deep in reality, so hard to actually understand.
Sorry, I didn't know we were going to go here, but here we are.
No, it's good because it encapsulates so much, right? If you want to be an outlier, you have to be an outlier.
Right, which means like you're probably, when you're in that in-between from where you are to where you're going, you probably don't have a peer group. So you could find a peer group, and they exist, but they're harder to find. I think maybe your podcast is these people's peer group for bar owners, independent bar owners. But find a peer group of people going through the same things. But also, I really try to encourage people, and I do this myself, find a mentor, someone that not just been there and done it, but is like 10 steps ahead. Because the been there and done is going to help. That will help you. But if you could find someone 10 steps ahead, the stuff we're going through now, like that's their pinky finger for 5 minutes on a Tuesday versus their entire life focus for 4 months. And that knowledge is just invaluable. But they probably won't accept you in as a peer because you're not there yet. So it's just, as humans, we all cherish and want community. We all want to be part of the tribe, and being the exception is very uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
But that's where the growth happens, is where we're uncertain and where we're uncomfortable.
Well, and I think that point about surrounding yourself with people that are not just been there, done that, but are way better at it is huge. And it reminds me of when I used to work in country clubs, because I spent a stint working at some country clubs, and the amount of money that trades hands in country clubs is through the roof crazy, right? Because they're all just doing business with each other, but they're also all really brilliant in their own fields to have the money to be there, generally speaking, right? Some of them are nepotism, but most of them are really brilliant.
They got some skills. Wherever they got them, they got some skills.
And everyone pushes everyone else to be better constantly because everyone's
Yes.
trying to live up to the guy that's a couple steps above them.
Yes.
And the guy that's at the top is like 100 and doesn't care anymore. So
Right.
it
Or he
works.
belongs to a more exclusive country club also. He just goes slumming at that one.
Right, exactly. But there is something about surrounding yourself with people that are better than you, smarter than you, richer than you, that makes you realize you can get there.
And really helps with your mindset because you have that example.
Absolutely. So we started talking about joy, and then I kind of sidetracked us. So let's get back to joy because I really do like where you're going with this whole joy thing.
Okay, so you realize you're in a story. You realize that there's facts and there's a story, and that you could change the story if you want to. Then you have to want to, and then you just start practicing inserting the new story until you get to a spot of joy again. And then you rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat, and you keep doing this. The last step, I believe, is teaching other people how to do this. As I said, you can see from my delivery here, it's a little mushy. I've been doing this for years, but I'm trying to write it down in a sequence of number one, you have joy. Number two, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. But the idea, I think, is good to, especially someone like you, Chris, just to talk it through to find out where I could get more clarity in this. So thank you.
Well, and what I love about it is, I feel like joy, when we had talked the other day, I had mentioned I had done an episode on joy not that long ago. But joy is a word that, for whatever reason, you never hear in business.
No, why
Right?
is
You
that?
hear success, you hear passion, you hear all this stuff, but you don't hear joy. So just on its face, why do you think we don't talk about joy more?
Well, part of that, I believe, is societal. You know, if you're successful, you got to be hard driven. You got to be tough as nails. You got to just be working all the time. But it's interesting if you have met, and I'm sure you have, Chris, and you watch really successful people, not the poser successful people, the actual successful people, the people at your country club, they're pretty happy most of the time. They enjoy what they're doing. It's not a job for them. It is joyful. I'm not saying there isn't work involved, because without work, why live? Like, it's pointless. People, like, how many, I'm trying to remember the line exactly in The Matrix where the bad guy, Mr. Smith, goes to Mr. Anderson like, you know, I can't stand the smell of humanity. We used to make these utopian matrices for you, and we lost millions of crops. Like, the humans didn't like it. Like, we had to make there was suffering and toil and work for you guys to actually want to exist. And it's so true. If there's no struggle, there could be no joy because you don't understand.
Well, and I think too, as you were talking through that, it occurred to me because if you think about humans and just kind of how we are as a society, we reward the struggle immensely, which we should. I'm not saying we shouldn't. But those guys that are really good at what they do, they never seem like they're working. Right? Like the richest, most successful people I know, they don't ever seem like they're working. They go to lunch all the time. They do whatever they want all day. And they somehow are managing to be the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company in the back end and making huge money and employing hundreds of people. But you look at them and you would never have any clue that they were doing any of that.
Yeah, but look at them 20 years ago or 30 years ago.
Well, that's the truth, right? They were
Back when
hustling.
they were operating and they weren't owning. And we all have to be an operator at some point. We have to learn whatever business we're in. We have to operate in our business. Experience and wisdom and learning patterns and thinking about it, taking thinking time. I schedule thinking time every week. It's where I sit down and I think. I don't just, watch YouTube and I'll think about a problem. These people who are doing that, they've gone through the struggle. Very successful real estate person I was talking to recently, I kind of like came in late to his process and we got to know each other pretty well. We just connected. And I kind of asked that question, like, you make it look so effortless. You just get this group of people and you do this thing and it all makes sense. And he goes, yeah, but what you haven't seen is for 5 years, I gave 3 presentations a week at night at this club. And the nights I wasn't doing that, I was out drumming up people to come to the presentations. And I had to refine my message and I had to refine my process. And I lost millions of dollars in the process. But I always had enough just to keep going, and then I built experience. And now the things that I was struggling with back then, I just know how to do instinctively now. This is hardwired into me, but back then I didn't. And that really opened my eyes. I started looking for that and asking those questions of other successful people I met. Just like you do, Chris. It's like you're having lunch 3 times a week and You golf 5 times a week and you go yachting, every weekend. And like, where are you even finding time to run this business? And how are you doing this? And they talk about, if they're honest, the struggle and the time, and they still probably gloss over the long hours and the sweat but it all happens. What we see, especially on YouTube and social media, is a success.
Yeah.
Look at me. I did all these things. What we don't see is all the struggle that led up to it.
100%. And there's something that you mentioned that I know that you focus on quite a bit with your own coaching that I want to dig into a little bit, which is that journey from operator to owner. Because you've been around food service with your work, and almost everybody in food service, whether it's bars, restaurants, franchises, any of it, they're all stuck in that operator mode.
Yes.
And very few of them get to the owner mode.
Yes.
So how do people get from operator to owner?
Well, it's like anything. It's a process. First, decide you want to do it. Some people love to be an operator. And if that's the space you love to be in, then be in it. Don't change. That's what gives you your juice. Do it. But if you want to take an occasional vacation without your phone blowing up and go home at 5 o'clock and turn your phone off and go to your kids' little league games or go on whatever freedom looks to you, I call it the freedom formula. Then you got to start the process. And the process is building systems and building processes. For me, if you do it more than 3 times, it has more than 3 steps. You need a process. It doesn't have to be formal. You could take your phone out and just record yourself doing something. Then post it on a private link on YouTube or wherever. Just even text it to somebody. You can text a video, right? And say, hey, do this thing and tell me if you get it. There, now you got a process. There's a system. It doesn't have to be sit at your computer for 4 hours. And then just keep handing more stuff off and more stuff off. And I could go on. I'm going to be respectful of your listeners and not go on. There's a process for handing stuff off. There's a process for properly delegating, not the D&D delegate and disappear. There's getting to a point where you have someone else do 80% of it and you do 20% of it. Then you figure out the things that only you can do. And that takes time. It's an evolution because you think there's stuff only you can do when really the question you need to be asking is, how do I find someone that's better at this than me? And there's about 14 other steps, but that's the gloss. And then you stress test it. Then go away for a week. And if nothing breaks, woohoo, go away for 2 weeks. Then go away for a month. When I say go away, just turn your phone off and stop showing up for work. See what breaks, because things will break. And then it's like, okay, now I got to fix that. Next thing, now I got to fix that. And then before you know it, there's not things to fix. And you're like, all right, now I just got to check in and make sure my KPIs are running, my teams are motivated, that, everything is going along the SOPs and procedures that we wrote, and rinse and repeat. And now you're ready to grow.
Absolutely. And now one thing in what you just said that I want to touch on, because I really like the way you put that. Don't just ask if I can find someone else to do this. I forget the exact words you used, but I think you said, find someone that can do it better than I can.
Yeah. Ask a better question. I can't find someone should be, how do I find someone better?
And do you find, because I've seen this from time to time, not all the time, but sometimes, where people are almost afraid to find someone as a business owner who's better than them at doing something because they're afraid that will make them look bad.
It's almost it is a universal truth. It is a universal truth because we're all afraid that if we're not good enough, skip a few steps, then we won't be loved. We all want to be loved. So if I'm not the smartest guy in the room, if it's my business, I should know how to do everything in this business better than every other person. No, think of a conductor of a symphony. They're not the best violin player and the best at cymbals and the best at the oboe, etc. But they could bring the symphony together. Yeah. So if you have an owner mindset, you're bringing the symphony together. Really smart people. A lot of people, I call them A players. A players love to compete. B players are muddle around, and C players you don't even want to have on your team. But if you could bring in these A players, you could change your life and theirs at the same time. Like, you got to spread the love, right? And not everyone wants to be a business owner. So just because you're bringing in this smart person doesn't mean they want to own a business. Not everyone's wired for entrepreneurship.
Well, I'd argue most people aren't.
Yeah, there you go.
Right? Because you got to be a little bit crazy to say, I'm going to risk, I have money now. I'm going to go risk all this stuff. And there's a 50% chance I'm broke in 5 years and have nothing to show for it, right?
I'm going to risk my 40-hour-a-week job and now go work 100 hours a week and make less money. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
On its face, I've talked to people about this before, but on its face, like, there's no reason to own a business. It is like the dumbest thing you could possibly do. It's probably the most rewarding, most fun. To me, it brings me more joy than anything else I could do.
Absolutely.
But it's also really stupid.
On so many levels. Right. Yeah. You have to not listen to anybody. You shouldn't do this because you will fail. And that's people telling you that with love because they don't want you to get hurt.
Absolutely. Well, somehow we're starting to run low on time. But because of that, I want to Ask a little bit about the book.
Okay.
So you have the book. Tell us a bit about it.
So Grow Fast, you could find it on my website, MikeDeJong.com. That's Mike, DEJONG.com. You could download it 100% free PDF version. I'm going to have it on Amazon soon, maybe by the time this podcast is up, but probably not that fast because I've got feedback that people want it on their Kindle. They don't want to just read a PDF. But I thought I'm going to give someone the world stuff for free. And it is everything you need to do what we're talking about today is transition from an operator to an owner. All the steps, all the processes, all the fun stories and failures that I had, not all of them, but a few key instances that just make you go like, he really did that? Like, oh my God. Yes, I really did that. Including spending an entire Mexico vacation on the phone and missing someone's wedding cake. Yes, that's right. I didn't deliver the cake to their freaking wedding. I know, heartbreaking. But the process you can go through and change your life, literally change your life.
Cool. So that's on your website. We'll link that in the show notes.
Thank you.
And then if people are saying, hey, Mike seems like a cool guy, we want to get in touch with him. I'm guessing the website's a great way to get in contact with you. Is there anywhere else they should go to learn more or get in contact with you?
Yeah, the website's great. Or Mike at MikeDeJong.com. That'll also send me a direct email. I'll get back to you. Cool. Although, like everything in my life, I structure my email. I'm not an instant guy. I do it once a day or once every other day. So I know we're in this era of like everything's instant. It doesn't need to be.
You know, and it's funny you mentioned that. Not that long ago, I said, I'm going to set aside a half hour every day to do email. And if you're after that half hour, I'll get it the next day.
Yep.
It made my life so much better.
Turn all those notifications off.
Yeah.
Turn it off.
Because if it's really a tragedy, I have a phone. You can call me.
Right. If something that desperate happened, call me. And it's a rare time I want a phone call, actually.
Right. Send it in an email unless it needs to be a phone call.
And Chris, and one other gift for your listeners.
Sure.
I offer at least a 30-minute to an hour long. They always seem to go an hour. Conversation so we can see where you're at. It is not a sales call. I leave people with a plan at the end of it, and I got no expectations. Just go forth, work the plan, and change your life. Because giving is living, and I really believe in giving back. I've had so many rewards and riches in my life. I just have the time to do this now, so that's what I'm doing.
Well, I love it. So for everybody listening, go down to the show notes. There'll be a link to the website. You can pick up the book. You can grab some time with Mike. With that, Mike, thank you so much for being here. This has been a really fun conversation for me. And I really liked being able to dig in some on mindset and how people can, change their mind a little bit, focus a little bit more on joy and live a much better life.
It's a choice. Doesn't seem like it. It doesn't feel like it, but it is. Yeah. Thanks, Chris. It's been a really great conversation. I love talking about this stuff.
That about wraps it up for today. If you enjoyed today's insights, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a review. If you are ready to take your bar to the next level, schedule a strategy session with me by clicking the link in the show notes below. Until next time, have a great day, and we will talk again later.